so normally I wait until Friday to do my predictions and all that for the game coming up on Saturday. This one is very cut and dry, so I don't even gotta wait till Saturday. I can do this today, right? Because it's actually very simple. And honestly, on top of that, I'm not doing a prediction in terms of who will win. I'm going to talk about what has to happen if Bowie State wants to win, because it's really quite simple. And what has to happen is this: Bowie, and y'all gonna think I'm boiling it down simple, but it really is simple. And I'm going to show you when I show you all the statistics. But the fact of the matter is, Bowie State has to show Saturday against Davenport if they have any legitimate shot or chance of winning the CIAA, or at least going to Salem, or at least contending to go to Salem at week 10 and all that. In order to even be in contention to have a chance to go to Salem, they got to show some stuff this week Saturday against Davenport at home opener. And because let me tell you, once again, it is very, very early in the season. It's very early in the season. No doubt about it. But from what I'm seeing so far, in terms of competition and parity and talent and opportunity to get multiple teams into the playoffs, this could be one of the best years in terms of CIAA football we've ever seen. Let me just break it down. Shaw is 2-0. Yes, Shaw is 2-0. They beat Elizabeth City week 1, and then they went down to Albany State and put 40. Yes, Shaw scored 40 points. 26 points in just the fourth quarter. At Albany State, the team that was the preseason number 1 to win that conference. And Shaw's 2-0. Johnson C. Smith is 2-0. They manhandled Tuskegee, then they turned right around and stomped out Morehouse. Virginia Union put 70 on Kentucky State and then turned around and was up against Hampton, at Hampton, for a huge portion of that game. Virginia State dominated Benedict, then turned around, and it was a one-score nip and tuck game at Norfolk State the entire game. They really could have won that game. Winston-Salem State stomped out Bluefield and then had one of the best games I've ever seen Winston-Salem State play in a loss at North Carolina A&T. North Carolina A&T, who is now in the CAA, needed overtime to beat Winston-Salem State at home. Like, listen. Fayetteville State got a very impressive win at well, I don't know if it was at, but they played UNC Pembroke, beat them. Listen, the CIAA is going to be very tough this year. The CIAA is very strong this year. This is not one of those regular years where, okay, we got to see what we do against State, we got to see what we do against Union, but the other games, it's an automatic dub. It ain't like that this year. It's not like that. Even Livingstone is winning non-conference games, blowing people out. Now, obviously, we got to beat Livingstone for what happened last year. They come into our place. That's a game you got to win. I'm just saying, it ain't no easy outs like it traditionally was. You want to have a chance to win the CIAA this year, you got to win 7 games to start. And really, it's not even that. You have to win. If we want to talk about conference wins, you want to win the CIAA this year, you need 5 conference wins, minimum. You have to win at least 5 conference games to have a chance. And so these two things, we need to show this against Davenport, because week 3 is when conference play begins. Right? Lost to Lenore Ryan, okay. That doesn't count against conference losses, it's okay. This week doesn't count against conference losses either, but it does go to overall record. And we got to start showing some things. What are those 2 things? We have to be able to stop the run. Got to be able to run the football. That's what we have to do. Run the ball. If you look at extremely effective and winning Division II programs, for the most part, there might be some outliers like Ferris State or Mines or whatever else, or West Florida. But for the most part, you are throwing 20 passes tops. That's what you're doing. You're running the ball for around at least $180 or more, and you're passing for about 150, 170. That's what you're doing. That's what's happening at the Division II level. So the play calling has to make sense. All this spread, 5 wide receivers, 3. Listen. The object has to be to win the game. Not to prove how pretty we can be or how advanced. The object has to be to win the game. Establish the run, stop the run. We could have and should have beat Davenport last year, but we had several turnovers. That hurt us. Last week we had a couple of turnovers. That hurt us as well. But what really hurt us was the extremely slow start by the offense in the first half. Because, in my honest opinion, the play calling. You got to start calling an offense. And I'm talking to the OC. You have to start calling an offense like you understand that this is a Division II program in the CIAA. Even more so than that, like, look at Davenport. The team we're about to play. They won last week. Look at how many completions they had. Look at how many attempts they had. Like, if you look at these successful programs, most of them are not throwing the ball like that. I'm not saying don't throw it, but what I'm saying is operate within the system that makes sense for the program. That's all I'm saying. I understand. See, what I believe happened, truthfully, is we had Amir Hall and we put up a whole lot of points and a whole lot of passing yards, and people saw that, and now it's my turn to make my name. Listen, it's your turn to win games. It's your turn to figure out a way to score points. That's what it's your turn to do. You really want to impress and improve. Find a way to consistently score in the mid to high 20s. And people will notice. Simple. Once again, look at the number of completions that our opponent had last week. Look at the number of attempts they had. They scored that many points and won a game throwing the ball that many times. Completing passes that many times. Whereas you look at us last year. Now, last year was an issue because we couldn't run the ball. I mean, listen, less than 3 yards an attempt is bad. But if last week is any indication as to what we're going to be doing, the running game is going to be a lot more effective. I mean, last year, barely 100 yards a game, less than 3 yards a carry. But then also look at almost 300 attempts last year. Do the math. But basically 300 attempts. That's 30 passing attempts a game. There is no reason why we should. Listen, I understand we got talented wide receivers and we got to get them the ball. But there's no reason to be throwing the ball 30 times. There's absolutely no reason at all. For what? We should be, the most we should have, for the most part, is about 20, 22. And even 22, that's kind of high. Like, once again, look around. I want y'all to do this, so y'all don't think I'm lying. Go look at Virginia Union, who won the conference last year, made it to the playoffs, and is coming back this year ranked in the top 25. Look at their pass attempts. I'm talking about how many times they even try to throw the ball. Look at Lenore Ryan, the number 12 team in the country, and the amount of pass attempts they had per game last season. Like, we can look at Wingate. We can listen. The formula to win at this level is to have an extremely effective running game. We're talking over 200 rushing yards a game. And about the real good programs, they're about 200 or more rushing and about 180 to 220 passing. They're about 4.5 yards a carry and about 10 to 13 completions a game for about 170, one touchdown, no one. That's what it is. If you look at Davenport last week, what did they do? They ran the ball. They had a very low level of completions. They had a little over 100 yards passing. They had about 250 rushing. Might have been more than that. They ran the ball. They possessed the ball. Next thing you know, the other team tries to stop the run. All of a sudden, the reads get a lot easier. The pass protection holds up a little longer. Guys get open, boom, now the passing game is open. So it's very simple. If we're going to make something happen in the CIAA this year, if we're going to win at least 5 conference games, which is necessary, got to continue to run the ball effectively. I'm talking 175 yards per game, if not more. I'm talking about 4 yards a carry at least. I'm talking 30 attempts a game. Rushing attempts. Passing attempts, I'm talking about 18. No interceptions. No fumbles. Here's another thing. Making extra points. Gotta make the extra points. Can't get them blocked, can't miss them. Gotta have them. I'm telling you, Davenport at home for the home opener. You got Livingstone at home. They, as we saw last year, they can score, and if we're not careful with the ball, they can turn you over. Winston-Salem on the road. We just saw them against some A&T. Union at home. We just saw them against Hampton. Virginia State on the road for their homecoming. We just saw them against Norfolk. And we saw Norfolk against FAMU. So Norfolk, they got some talent, especially rushing the ball. Lincoln, we already know with Freeman and that, they can throw that rock. We know that. Bluefield for homecoming, I mean, listen. Although Bluefield got a out-of-conference win the other day. Can you believe that? But still, Bluefield at home for homecoming, gotta stomp them out. That's a game where if you want to throw it 25 times, 30, okay. That makes sense, depending on, we get them down early. And you just, okay. Like, come on. Like, I think we got Fayetteville State this year as well. We got Elizabeth City State. Listen, we got, that's the game you got to have. They couldn't score 15 points if you spotted them 14, But seriously, this listen. You want to beat Davenport, you want to contend for the CIAA, run the ball, stop the run. The amount of yards Davenport got last week, listen, we can't have that. Virginia State, they run up and down our throat again, it's over. Union, they run up and down our throat again, it's over. Winston-Salem State, trust me, at home, they're going to we can't stop it, it's over. So it's very simple. Can you consistently run the ball? Are you going to be committed to consistently running the ball? And can you stop the run? If not, listen, with the schedule we got and how the conference is looking, if we can't do those two things, we go 6-4. It's going to be hard to find the 6 if we can't do those two things. So that's what I do believe that last week was not a fluke in terms of running the ball. I believe that we should be able to continue to run the ball. At least I hope. Listen, if we can't, it's going to be a long year. But that's it. Those are the keys. Run the ball, stop the run. I know it sounds simple, but look at the numbers. Look at our opponents. And look at their numbers when they win. Look at the CIAA champion and what their number was when they won. Look at Lenore Ryan's numbers from last year. And listen, that's what they do. They run the ball. They get timely completions. They catch a bomb here. They catch a long pass there. They get a receiver in space. He makes a move. Gets a little 40-yard run after the catch. That's how that goes. I'm not saying don't throw the ball. Throw the ball, get guys out in space, let them make some moves, let them make them out guy miss. But listen, dropping back 30 times, in my opinion, that's a fireable offense. Run the football.